All right. Well, what up, Miguel? How we doing today,
Hello.
man?
Thanks for having me on your show. I'm super honored.
My show. We can call it a show for now. Um, yeah, man. It's good just to touch base with all the homies. Miguel and I go back now a few years. We're both born and raised in Las Vegas. We got that Vegas connection, but we didn't grow up knowing each other because Miguel's a couple years behind me. But yeah, man, we've become good friends through Miguel popping through Portland with his band that he tours with now full time, Bamba. So through that gig and through our mutual friend Dan Rossi in the old touring Toothbone days, we've become really good buds now. So it's good to have you on. Good to check in with you today, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it was even before Ila Bamba. I met you at that Valentine's gig that we with a Reno band.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and then RJ was still living in town. It was that Vegas crew was living there. They had just moved there. Yeah, and then you came up to Reno and started hanging, and then we had a lot of mutual friends. Your former teacher is a friend of mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Through the whole
Yeah,
Vegas
just a
scene.
lot of indirect connections from the Vegas scene. Miguel's pops, shout out to Pepe, is like pretty much everyone's biggest influence growing up as a drummer in Las Vegas. So that's another thing that we kind of laugh about a lot is just how that strong connection from Miguel's dad. Of I was always going to clinics as a young kid, not even knowing that Miguel was in the same crowd and
That I
shit.
was alive.
Yeah, yeah. Then
That I
Miguel was
existed in the world.
a future killing drummer in his own right. But yeah, I remember we were joking last time we saw each other about those like old Meadows clinics that your dad would
I still have a
be
shirt.
like the what like the headlining clinician there. So yeah, shout out to Pepe. Shout out to all these different ways that we become good friends now, man. But yeah, dude, I just wanted to start this thing to kind of check in with friends through this whole quarantine process and see how everyone's doing. Um, so yeah, man, I'll just kind of let you open it up. How are you using the time right now to
Well, um, so yeah, I mean, I live in an apartment. Obviously, I had a lot of work canceled, like everybody else, and I live in an apartment, which is kind of a drag because I can't play drums, but I have my I have towels over my drums, and I have like a practice pad on my snare instead of the snare and all this stuff, and when I find when this whole thing first started, I was like, oh yeah, cool, like I'm gonna practice every day, and I started practicing every day, in the morning and doing all this stuff. Um, but like even it's been hard to like recently finding the motivation to practice just because you're just stuck at home and you're like you know um, you're just it's just there around you all the time and I'm like I want to go outside and I want to play with people and I'm just like god like
yeah.
it's just a cycle of just being sort of down and not depressed but not much influencing going on around you, like
Yeah.
even just being around your peers, it's inspiring, even just a day-to-day thing, it's inspiring. So like that kind of sucks, and but I'm trying to just like force it anyways and just practice as much as I can, try to like figure out new music to play along to. That's one of my big things that I like to do is just play along to tunes. um, I'll read snare solos and things like that here and there, but yeah, mostly like do that kind of stuff and take advantage of my time. One thing that I have been doing a lot is we have a record player here, and every morning we'll just wake up and like me and my roommate will just bust out a record, and just listen, do some active listening, which I haven't done in a really long time. I had
Yeah.
all these records that I bought from being like traveling on the road, and for years I didn't have a record player, so I now have been listening to them like almost every single day, which is cool, and like lots of different music, checking out a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, just trying to make the best out of what I got. Yeah, it's hard times for everybody, but we all gotta deal with it, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, this ends sooner than later. Yeah.
Yeah, amen to that, man. I can relate in that sense of what you're just saying. Like my motivation is kind of cyclical right now. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, today's gonna be a good shed day, And then other days, like yesterday was one where I just like, I really had to force it. So I'm trying to like allow myself some grace during this time to just be okay with the lack of motivation on certain days and like use it when
Yeah.
I have it, sort of thing. And not like I feel like there's an easier burnout rate right now when you're just constantly in like the like, oh, I have to shed all the time mode because I have all this time. I feel like it's a little easier to burn yourself out with that mentality when it's not in your more like daily routine of other shit you gotta get like through or whatnot. So I'm trying to just use motivation as it comes, listen to a lot of music to your point. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to dust off some records as well because I have a nice collection that I've grown throughout the years. It's not big as a lot of people's, but yeah, I need to use it, some inspiration from you and start getting through the whole collection throughout this time. That's kind of one of my goals is to listen to every vinyl that I own.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes you appreciate all that stuff too. Like now, I just like realize like, oh man, I just bought like, we bought used vinyl, and I was just thinking about like how many people have owned this, this piece of music, and like how long they had it. This is history with every, record you have in your collection, and that just made me like appreciate it a little bit more. But it's just crazy because like for years I didn't have a record player, and I would just like, going to record shops is like the hip thing to do now, and like
Yep.
I would just go, it's this past tour we did in February. We checked out a couple record stores, and I brought home like 4 or 5, and yeah, it's cool to be able to listen to all that stuff, and it makes me appreciate it a little bit more. I haven't really listened to like Spotify or any of the digital streaming stuff, this whole time. It's just been my record collection.
Wow, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
It's cool to like really compartmentalize this time and focus it in that area. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
I'm definitely just like listening to everything. I'm going just in these rabbit holes at like a 1 to 2 hour period of time. I'm just like in a YouTube spiral, or like, okay, I'll like throw on a viral, or like I'll go to this thread of live shows that people have sent me, or I'll go to my Spotify like weekly shit that is like kind of introduced to me. But that's really neat that you're being intentional about like giving that its space right now.
I went on a run last week, and I plugged my headphones in, and before I started running, I looked at my phone and I tried going on Spotify, and I realized that I like completely forgot about paying for Spotify again because I got a notification. I was like, oh man, it's literally been like a month now since I actually like check this stuff out, because we've just been listening to records here while cooking and things like that. Yeah, man, and listening to some good stuff. I've been checking out this. I bought this Buddy Rich album called "Speak No Evil."
Yeah,
and it's Buddy Rich, and I had no clue what it was gonna be, but the album cover is him dressed as like some like Kill Bill like karate thing, and he's like chopping, he's like kicking something. It's just like
Buddy was like obsessed with martial arts.
Yeah, and there's like 4 really good looking girls behind him. It's like super like Quentin Tarantino vibe, but it was like a funk disco album. It was really crazy, and I never think that he would do that kind of stuff. It was literally like disco. It was super cool.
That's crazy. I gotta check that out. I mean, I'm sure his pocket for that shit was great, because he swung with a force and like with a backbeat like kind of feel a lot of the time. So I bet his pocket shit was pretty killing. I gotta check that album out. Speak No Evil.
Speak No Evil. Yeah.
Word. Are you looking for like, when you guys have a sec when you're on the road, are you like going to vinyl stores, I mean like record shops and stuff, and looking for used vinyl when you're on the road these days?
Yeah, I mean, I like to do that. I mean, I do it because I just like to just see. It's just cool to see what records land in different shops, what used records land, where they just go to. I remember we were playing in, oh man, what was the city? Somewhere on the East Coast, and the band that we were opening up with, they went to a record shop, and the guy brings back, and he brought back the Shape of Jazz to Come, the Ornette Coleman record, and it was used, but like the actual, how do you call it? Like the make, I guess, or the type of release it was like one of the originals. So it was worth like $500-600, but you got it for like $3. You know?
man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like one of the original like actual printing. So like yeah, it was just cool to see that. That's why I like, going to record shops and doing that kind of stuff. It's like going to the library or the bookstore. I don't really read, so like whatever.
Yeah, man.
I like
I listen to a lot more music than I read, that's for sure. But yeah, that's something I know you and I have in common when we're always talking about like places we visit and things we do, that you and I like kind of gravitate towards the same shit, is that like we go to thrift shop and vintage like for clothes.
Well,
and
there's
then
there's got to be a hip coffee shop first.
Yep, and then we got to go to a coffee shop to start our day,
yeah.
and then we got to go check out used record stores and used vinyl. So like I know we're kind of tied into, as well as Dan, in terms of like our same hobbies when we're on the road and visiting a city. And last time I was leaving town right before I left town, I saw you last. We were talking about going to Nashville, and you're like, "Oh, okay, hit up these spots." And
how are the tacos, man?
Oh man, the tacos were as legit as you said, bro. Some of the best I've ever had.
Did you go to that drum shop that was right behind?
Yeah, I went to all of it, man. I went
Isn't
to
cool,
3 different drum shops. I went to all the vintage clothing stores and
nice.
a few different record stores. So yeah, man, I covered all of the grounds for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I miss Nashville. Hopefully, I get to go back there soon. A lot of good drummers there, man.
Yeah, man, I got to see all these different pockets of like people playing just like the country pop gigs on the main downtown Broadway circuit, and then I saw like some straight up like old school honky tonk shit, and then I saw
with the dude playing the bass, right?
Yeah, man.
He's just like, he was there like 4 years. That same spot.
I'm sure that's his gig, man, and he holds it down, bro. Man, he smacks the shit out of that upright. But I just saw like a nice spectrum of like everything Nashville has offered. Then I went to Rudy's like jazz jam on Sunday, and like just some absolute killers there, like world class jazz talent. So it's cool just to see different music cities like that are reputable as like on Nashville's kind of level of status, or and just see all the talent that city has to offer, because there's a lot of hotbeds across the country, and it's always fun to kind of just see who's playing and what's going down in those different.
It's cool to see just the different like vibes, in each city. Like you go to Nashville, and all the drummers are playing 2 and 4, like super solid.
Yeah.
They have like one in-ear monitor in because they're hiding a metronome somewhere. With like there's like an iPad going on, right. And then you go to New Orleans, where it's like, it's a different. Have you been to New Orleans yet?
No, man, that's number one on the bucket list.
Yeah, like
number one.
You go to New Orleans, and it's the same vibe. Walking down Frenchman Street, or like that whole thing, and it's like gypsy jazz in this place, and then like actual like traditional second line over here, and like fusion over here, and then you keep walking further, and then you start seeing the suits start coming out with like the guys actually playing like bebop and all that stuff. It's really cool. And then you go to like Dallas, and you go to a jazz club, and like the drummer is just like playing everywhere, like really fast, because that's the gospel things out of there.
Yeah, so, the gospel scene out of there is strongest, man. But dude, it's fun to get to these different pockets. And with all your traveling now on tour with Ila Bamba, I guess you get like a unique perspective of seeing other bands, not only like that are local, but also just like bands that you share legs with and whatnot. And I guess like what is that done for your playing in general, just to like get this wide spectrum of like regional sounds and like just guys different individual sounds on gigs like that?
I mean, like when I first started playing with the band, I was like, still getting to know the music, and like over time I had to really learn to play more simple, and playing simple just like really drove the band more and like more dynamically and things like that, because we've been working on refining our sound.
Yeah.
And like I got to see, like the past tour, I saw Duran Jones, the drummer, Aaron Frazier, who sings, like has this like really beautiful Frankie Valli like voice. He's one of the lead singers, and he's just like he has really good pocket, really solid, very professional, but like just like super simple the entire time. And it just made everything so nice, and I just like that inspired me like a lot too. Just to we it was funny because then we went on tour with Combo Chimbita, and like that it's a whole vibe where it's just like drony, like chopping out kind of like cumbia and like sort of African influences in there. So yeah, it's cool to just like be able to blend everything in, seeing all the drummer, because a lot of the bands that we share bills with are all like indie bands. They're not like they're like punky, shoegazy, like a lot of cumbia stuff and like just very indie stuff. So like the drummers are like they're like I would say that like collegey hipster, that kind of stuff. So like I mean I'm trying to take those influences and like put them into the music, and I've definitely learned to play more simple, and it's definitely had a good like effect. And it's cool because I do a lot of the Latin rhythms and Brazilian stuff, and a lot of that stuff is like really complex, and it's shown me to like I don't know, just kind of like mold it and make it simpler. Like you don't hear like samba groups and like indie music, indie rock or anything like that. So like I've been trying to find a way to make it make sense, and seeing all the drummers and like all the bands that we've been playing with and festivals and things like that have definitely influenced me to like just play simpler and make and just how do you say make the music shine like that. I don't know.
Man. To your point there, as I've told you after the first time getting to hear you play with the band, or like clips whenever I see you guys out on the road together that you share, it's just like I don't know, your essence of using all of your background, specifically like your own unique voice coming from playing a lot of Latin music as a kid, like really shines in this group. And like it's so cool for me to have seen in the first time in person, to like watch the pocket that you and Zach Turan, our mutual bassist friend that also is a Reno cat, longtime homie of Miguel's. But just to hear how you guys have like shifted the sound and elevated it to this place where like there's all of these different like colorscapes that didn't exist there before. It's like it's just like pretty magical to see like your influence and Zach's influence on just like what that sound has created for band playing this style of music with Latin influence. But I don't know, you add this essence of all of your own influences to the point where, man, it's just like this perfect marriage of like everything I'd want to hear in that band.
And that's like what that's also like the gig that I think you want to have, is where you can actually like be yourself. You don't have to learn a specific style of music in order to play the gig, I mean, like like cool, like going on tour with I don't know, like AC/DC or something, you got to learn all the rock stuff and whatever. But like like I like that's why I really love playing in a band, is because like I can just be myself, and
my voice. It's so obvious though, right? Like you're speaking so fluidly throughout these songs that a drummer can sit down and play similar parts, but would never sound like you on the music. So it's really sweet. I love the marriage of you playing in this group so much, and like I just can't praise how that combination of sounds enough, because just your influence and how it's elevated the music in this very like subtle, like in like tasteful way, and like you just bring so much musicality to everything going on around you. But like you said, like it's not about like playing jazz or Latin chops on it. It's just about using your unique voicings to like add to the music. Has been just really dope to watch and see play out.
Man, I cherish playing in that band very much just because of that reason. And I mean, like, you want to be successful with by being, being yourself. I mean, I'll learn I'll learn 20 tunes for a gig, like no problem. But that's just like, okay, cool. Like, where's the paycheck at the end?
You're getting through it to for
and I'm sure it
to
will be
pay the
fun or
bills.
whatever. Yeah, but like this one is just like, yeah, it's just like a no-brainer.
It's
cool, man.
I love what you just said, man. That's a cool takeaway. Being successful, being able to be yourself, like that's just a cool little tidbit. Just to remind ourselves that there are gigs and situations where you can fully just be your own voice and share what you have to say and not have to like force anything. In there, I feel like uh, I take the approach that there's like room for everyone to be successful that has brought themselves to like a level of professionalism. And you and I talk about that all the time when we're together. But that gig just kind of proves that. And what you just said piggybacks on that. Like finding gigs where you're allowed to just be successful, being yourself is a pretty special thing that a lot of people seek their whole careers trying to look for. And it's pretty sweet when you get those opportunities. Like, hey, just play the music you hear, and like that's gonna be spectacular.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of my influences aren't also just like music. It's also like other fellow musicians, like just people that I've met along the way or who I play with. Like Zach and I play a bunch, so like a lot of the stuff I do is because of like our intermusical interaction, and like me playing with all the Reno guys and like the Vegas stuff, like everything, all of my friendships and all this stuff is also there. It's not just, it goes beyond music. It's mostly like, it's just life, man. Life behind life, and then you just sit on the drums and just speak.
Yeah, no kidding, man. It's something I try to do a better job every time I sit down at my kit is conveying just like the emotional life aspect behind what it is we're doing, and not just think about obviously there's ways to like get the most out of what you're trying to achieve in like a 30-minute window, technically speaking, but that then it's good to just turn your brain off and just try to convey a message of like what it is you're feeling at that time. And anytime anyone watches Miguel play, he's doing exactly that. So it's always great to watch you play, whether that's on a jazz hit or on with Ila Bamba, or like on a rock pocket gig, man. It's just like it's cool because I think you and I have something in common, and that's the fact that we like playing all styles of music.
Yes.
Like, which is I don't feel like is as common amongst like drummers our age as it may have used to be like in our parents' generation. And I'm not saying like people don't play everything well. Most of the people you and I like are friends with in our network, in our scene, like they play everything at a very high level. It's just that you and I really enjoy like playing a rock gig, really enjoy playing a funk gig, really enjoy playing a standards gig, and so on and so forth. Like we get a lot of just like personal pleasure out of playing those different styles and not being like married to just like the one type of music all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man. I just like to work too. I want to be able to work and just I like the rotation and keeping things fresh and learning new styles. Like I've taken gigs where it's like, oh yeah, do you want to do this like, like train beat or like rockabilly type thing? I'm like, yeah, cool. I'll say yes. Just whatever. And I will just start listening to all that kind of stuff. Like I remember the first time I had to play reggae, I was like 19. It was like in Tahoe with this bass player named Sam Ravenna. And I was like, hey man, like I haven't really like played, I know a little bit about reggae, but I don't really know about all that stuff. And he's like, oh, no worry, man. And then he just sent me this playlist of like, things he learned when he was in Berkeley. And like, I had a couple weeks to learn it. And then he told me, it's like, he's just like telling me about like the one drop and the rhythm and all these things and like how they call those things out, turn around and doing it. I was like, oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
And then, it's just, it's cool to like be able to do all that stuff. And then, if you want to be a working drummer, I think you should probably be versatile. I've seen it firsthand with my dad and things like that, so.
And like you said, luckily you had your pops to kind of shape that mentality from you at a young age. But
Yeah,
like, I don't know, there's not many drummers out there more versatile like than your dad Pepe, and so it comes across in your influences that you took all of those different styles like seriously when you were like shaping your voice, so that when all of a sudden like music transitions into like pocket from swing, or from
yeah,
swing all of a sudden to a Latin thing, like it just like there's absolutely no hurdles, like none of pumping the brakes, like to get into that thing, like you just like
yeah,
fluid, like water, like air, it just comes out of you.
yeah.
So
It's
it's
just
pretty
fun, man.
it's pretty
I like.
sweet.
Yeah, it's just good to keep that
you're
stuff fresh. Yeah.
yeah, you're a chameleon on the kit, which is like always fun to watch you hop between styles, and also like apply those different voicings to those other styles, right? Which is like
Yeah.
a fun thing that I see in your playing a lot. um like you swing a lot differently than like just a straight ahead player because of these influences that you have, and it's
Yeah.
always kind of telling that, oh man, he's like applying some like straight up.
It's I always like to think that like I'm a different drummer at like at every style. Like a drummer, there's like I can name like a drummer for every style that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, for like the Ila Bamba stuff, you know, I there's some songs where I'm like, okay, I'm Ringo right now, where it's just like to stay there, you know, like 2 and 4 kind of stuff, and then I'm like, you know, then I go into like, you know, my favorite Brazilian drummer is Kiko Freitas, who's like this really bad dude from Brazil, and like, you know, I like to, and then like when it comes to jazz, I'm like, I love this guy named Jeff Hamilton, this drummer,
Yeah.
And he's just like so swinging and so melodic and like speaks, you know, and like, yeah, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be that guy right now. And then when it comes to like a 2 and 4, you know, I got my other those influences, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to be that guy because that's who I listen to, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, yeah, it's just that kind of stuff. I love it. I love it, and it's fun to be versatile, man. It keeps things rolling. I don't know how I would be just like being like a reggae drummer, you know. That would be really hard, you know. You'd have to go to like a specific city or scene to,
right,
you know, to really make it happen.
And I think it's wonderful. I'm not, you know, we're not bad mouthing people that really hop into a genre or scene and like make that their life. Like I think there's something to be said about that, like the level of passion and like wanting to like make that your full voice and diving deep into that. You know, like most songwriters, for example, that aren't like instrumental musicians, like they're not hopping around genres, like they have a unique voice and they say like that thing through like a folk lens or through like a bluegrass lens or whatever whatever it may be. But yeah, like certainly something you and I have in common is wanting to be able to say different things all the time using different stylistic influences. And yeah, no, yeah, it's hard to find drummers more well versed in those things than you, bud. So it's always fun to watch. And what you just said kind of isn't surprising to me. It's funny, you can just kind of take an image or like kind of like a Mount Rushmore figure to be like, okay, I'm going to emulate him in this moment in time. I think that's a cool emotional approach to like not being like, okay, how do I play the best? You know, how do I play the best swing feel? It's like, no, like how do I swing like Jeff right now? Like I think that's really badass that you narrow your lens and kind of like fine tune your scope that way, because then it makes it more like exhilarating, and it makes your options a little bit more like confined, you know.
Yeah.
So then you get to say whatever you want while taking that influence.
It's not just Jeff too. It's like there's a whole bunch of like drummers. I mean, also the thing is too, man. Like I grew up like idolizing a lot of drummers from Puerto Rico, and like some of the best drummers and that out there right now, in my opinion. Like I've shown you the drummer for Ricky Martin is Tony Escapa. He's like he played with like Osnoy, and then he played, you know, he plays with Ricky Martin, and he'll play with all these like different artists, and he plays with Miguel Zanon, but he switches to like all these different styles of music. I've shown you like a video of him playing jazz, a video of him playing like death metal.
Yeah, that shit where he
before.
just switched to metal like seamlessly was like, wow, I could never play this gig.
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
he's shredding all over it.
and a lot of drummers from Puerto Rico are like that, and I, hearing through my dad about, him talking about it, I just was always like, oh, cool, I want to be like that, I want to be able to different styles, Henry Cole, the drummer for Miguel Jimenez, has like his own Afrobeat stuff and like also plays the shit out of like rock and roll and all that.
He's a perfect example of that as well, man.
Yeah. So like, it's just always learning. I think that's just the main thing here is just kind of keep it, just keep your ears open and try to keep it fresh, man. But that's also a thing that drives me is like I didn't really. I lived in Puerto Rico. I was born there, and then I lived there till I was like 8 or 9. But like, and I didn't really get to meet a lot of these guys. So like, I want to be like sort of in that circle of like known, in that realm, because that's where I come from, and I want to be able to express that.
And I know you have a lot of pride being from Puerto Rico, which shows in your playing, shows in the influences of people you look up to, and like shows like still your passion today of wanting to like, I guess, dip deeper into that scene of drummers located from there. And it's cool that you're able to do so and connect with a few of these guys that you've looked up to like throughout the years. And I know like a lot recently has happened for you in like the last year. Been able to get some different endorsements, which are all well deserved, and all of that through those relationships, kind of connect with some of those people more. What is it? How is that path been like for you to like, I guess, go through those different relationships, in like the more corporate sphere, if you will?
You're talking about like the endorsement stuff and
in general, but how has that been navigating that more so this last year probably than ever before?
Well, I mean, like I'm obviously not, I'm not the guy with 1 million followers on Instagram. And I'm not that type of guy. I'm not making like YouTube covers with thousands of views, so like, I think nowadays that's just kind of what people are really looking for when it comes to endorsements and things like that. But like, I think like with the Vader, I got my Tony, my drummer friend that I just mentioned. He's close with the guy. He was close with Chad, the head of Vader, and they see growth, being young and then obviously working a lot. And Sabian, the guy was good friends with my dad, and I had a lot of tour dates and. I did it because I needed to get cheaper cymbals, and I love Sabian and all that kind of stuff, and it helps, man. Especially like, like going on the road and sometimes making good money, sometimes not making good money. It's just how it is, man, and like that stuff helps. And like if I want to do clinics someday, they'll throw me all the little like lanyards and things like that to hand out, and I haven't like gotten like. I'll get reposted every once in a while and things like that, but like I haven't really been. It's hard to still get up there where they're showcasing you and things like that.
Oh yeah, man, and you're nowhere near a finished product, so it's like it's fun. It's fun just to get your foot in the door.
Yeah,
and
I don't
be
really
able to
want
create.
to. I don't want to be like I don't want that kind of attention. I just want to be able to play music and and make a little, make some good money and just be happy. I don't want to be like on the cover of. I mean, if I'm on the cover of Modern Drummer like 20, 30 years from now, hell yeah. But like, that's not something I'm like striving for. I think like a lot of drummers now are like, are striving for the internet presence and
notoriety.
Really, really losing what they're, what it's really all about. So yeah, man, those things help and they come along the way, and they'll come, I'm sure, like for like you and people like who are like working out there, they will come someday, and at the right time. And it helps. It's just a thing that helps, you get a little discount here and there and some love. But like, yeah, like I check it out, man. Like, so I have Sabian and Vader, and those two companies, like, I'll email them and they'll take forever to respond, right? And there's not that like personal connection there. There's thousands of people there. Like thousands of drummers that are like on that stuff, and they're talking to everybody. So like I'll hear back from them like 2 or 3 weeks later. But like I got endorsed with Cogs Drums out of Las Vegas. I went into this like drum warehouse in Vegas, this new Las Vegas drum room, and my dad just took me there to check it out. My little sister was there, and like, we were just checking out drums and all this stuff. And I played a little bit, and like the dude was like, "Oh, you can play? That's cool, whatever." He follows me on Instagram and notices that I'm touring a lot, and I'm young. Then he's like, "Hey man, you should give me a call." And like we talked. Super, 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 super nice guy. And like, man, we didn't even talk about drums. We were just talking about like other things, like life stuff, like about his kids and like me, where I live, and like rent going up and things like that. And like that right there was like, okay, cool, this is awesome. This is a good relationship with this guy. It's not even about drums. I know I can ask for help when I need it, anytime. And like we'll have these conversations, just random conversations about like I called him the other day and I told him about the tour, how great the drums were, and all this stuff, and like he appreciated it. And we'll just talk about a million other things that are not even about drums. And that's like what I would love to do. Is just, instead of like being so corporate, it's just like a hang with somebody that's helping you out, and then you're helping them out in that way. And it's a small business, so it's good to like help them build. So like I'd rather do that than obviously if someday DW wants to give me a free drum set, I'm not gonna turn that down. I don't think anybody would turn that down. It's like the corporate world is like very, very tough, man, and ice cold. So it's good to support the local businesses. I know in Portland you guys have like that surf drums, or surf the guy that makes the like bags and things like that, and Revival. It's good to support those businesses.
Yeah, man, a lot of local drum builders and cymbal companies out here. So yeah, it is nice, man, and that doesn't surprise me coming from you. That it's pretty great when you can get both, right? Not all the time endorsement's going to come with that sense of connection and that level of like care, and that's okay. But like it is cool that you're able to find those things out there, and yeah, thanks for mentioning that, I guess, to bring that to life as well, I guess, just to shine some light on that. But it doesn't surprise me like hearing all that. I know you're not like, you're the opposite of like the clout chasing, like, oh, let me get endorsed and like brag about this shit. Like that's just never been what you're about. And so those things, addressing that those things are a nice luxury to have, and situationally, especially when you're on the road, like those relationships become extra crucial, as like, oh shit, like cymbals are stolen, or like drum sets gone all of a sudden, and like now you have contacts to hit up. So
it's helped me out in that way. Like I, especially for the La Bamba thing, I was like, okay, cool. Like I don't have the money to buy a new set of cymbals, and I need a new set of cymbals for the sound of the band. And it was just it was the right time, and I had the right package. I had like a million tour dates, and like I just put together this, like, for people out there who are ever wondering how to do it. Like, first of all, like you don't go cold chasing, companies. You should probably have a connection or an in to these people, and then like make a player I made a player profile. I have links to the website, links to YouTube, links to like the press releases of the band, and like all the accomplishments, and like the Billboard stuff and all that stuff. And then I had like all the tour schedule. It was like a 3-page PDF, and then I emailed it to them, and it was a no-brainer, and I don't get free cymbals. I still have I get a percentage off there, so I pay, but it helps. It just helps, man, when you're on the road. The stick one, like I could go everything else, but like if I could just get like a stick endorsement, that's great, because that's what you go through the most.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize drummers go through a pair of sticks sometimes on one gig if like you chip it the wrong way. It's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, man, it's just a little help. That's all I like to say. It's not like, it's nothing big, and that's how I like to keep it. If it goes up from there, great. But like, it helps a lot, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's all a good perspective you're keeping it in. You're not expecting anything. It's just what comes with the territory when you have growth as a professional, and you're
Hmm.
seeing that right now, and it's all, like I said, well deserved, and all of these things will continue, to come to your doorstep when the timing is right and when those relationships present themselves. So that's the cool thing, is now you're like in that circuit and get to continue to um, navigate that world as you see fit, right? As you see,
Yeah.
like, whatever
Yeah.
works best for you personally at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Uh, yeah. I like to keep it authentic too, man. I don't like to, you know, I'm not I do post a lot on Instagram, but I'll never make a YouTube cover. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about, taking the 12-year-old approach to like Justin Bieber's latest song. But I can't do it, man. I mean,
Well,
I've
nowadays,
played
I mean,
drum
if you're in
covers.
quarantine and you got to make money, if you need those
Yeah,
views and
yeah,
Instagram to pay you, do it,
yeah.
man. You got to do what you
Hey,
got to do.
bro, do what you got to do out here. No judgment from Miguel and I today. No judgment out here in these streets. Um, but yeah, to each their own, and it's cool. It's cool always seeing your approach and how you're getting through on these road gigs. It must feel extra fucking weird for you, of anybody, because you're living on the road most days than at your house. What would you say? It's like
Yeah,
80-20 split between you being on the road
I mean, since
typically.
February of last year, it was probably 80-20. So it's a little bit weird to come back and like like the past year, I just been like every time I'm home, I have to make all these calls and let everybody know, or like a Facebook post, I'm home, like call me
Yeah.
for gigs, because people think I'm just like automatically on the road. I've been home for like 3 weeks, and sometimes there'll be this like really nice gig, and somebody like, oh man, I thought you were on tour. I was like, no, dude, like
Yeah, yeah.
I want that gig, So like
I
it's good to do that, but like yeah, I mean, like now I'm considering trying to find like more steadier income because of everything that has happened.
hmm
You know, having I was a booking agent before the Ilabamba and during the Ilabamba thing for like this venue in town, and because I was on their payroll, now I get unemployment benefits, and like I didn't know I had any of that. I just like went on the unemployment website and just without knowing anything, I saw these things pop up from last year. I was like, oh,
hmm
cool. So I get a little bit of money. Sweet. So like now I've realized, and we're both young, so like we're learning about all this stuff. So now I'm like realizing maybe it's good to have like a steady gig, figure something out, while not touring, and and then like just be able to have something to fall back on for these times, because this is super super crazy, and
Yeah, and I mean, we had just talked about it. Just some insight. Like, Miguel's always on the road, and with this, it went from literally not having a life outside of touring from now until, what'd you say, like all the way summer was already booked prior, right?
hmm
And now,
yeah,
like, in like one snap, like all of those dates are no longer held. So things are being booked out. You said like September now ish, as like,
September, yeah,
which
which
is
hopefully,
crazy, right? Like
yeah,
like it's just insane, and I'm sure things will get going, if they're allowed to, by summertime. But
hmm
who knows right now? And that's just a weird place to be for someone as busy as you are and on a road gig as steady as the one you're on. So it's just obviously
yeah,
weird, and I feel for you, bud, as much as I do for anyone, because there everyone's all the homies' lives have been impacted, but you know to have it as hit drastically as someone like you, I feel
yeah,
I feel for sure extra, because that's all of a sudden 4 months of work. So at this point, man, we're just all trying to keep it positive and optimistic and make the most of this time. And like you said, not always just focus on drumming and shedding. It's nice to take a step back and appreciate
yeah.
the
I mean,
quietness around this.
most of my time in this quarantine has been, I probably spent at least good like 100 hours on my PlayStation, which is great.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just like playing some 2K and some
You're shedding.
Call of Duty, which is
shedding
cool.
like
yeah,
this.
I'm shedding my fingers. So yeah, man, like I don't know. Hopefully, my motivation with drumming comes in waves while this whole thing is happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm not being, I don't know, I'm just like not being inspired by my friends. I don't see them, and yeah, it's just how it is, man. I think we're all doing the same thing, so we all just have to hang in there, I guess.
Yeah, man, and it's good. That's the whole purpose for why I wanted to start. This thing kind of came up as an accident, but why I wanted to start reaching out to homies in the first place, and then I just kind of naturally had the idea that it might be fun for people to chime in if they find anything interesting that we're covering. But yeah, man,
yeah, for sure.
It's always good talking with you and covering grounds.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be back up there soon. How much I love that place.
You always got a place to stay when you're up here, bud.
Yeah. I can't wait to hopefully someday move there. That's my goal. But
we'd love to have you, man.
Things always come.
It's a deep pool of Portland drummers that would, heavily embrace the addition of a Miguel Jimenez, bro.
Yeah. I just want some Blue Star donuts. That's all I want.
Yeah, you just want Blue Star donuts.
Yeah, man. That's the only thing I look forward to.
Oh man, not this host right here, not this guy.
Oh yeah, well yes, and your basement apartment is actually very great.
Yeah, man.
I'm very grateful for that, by the way.
We got that Airbnb for only Miguel.
What's that Mexican joint that's down the street from you?
Oh, Burrito Azteca! Shout out! Go buy Burrito Azteca and support that place right now.
Are they doing takeout or what?
My guess would be, yeah. I think everyone's trying to hold on to takeout right now. That's open for business. So, yeah. What's up? Do we have a comment in here? Oh yeah, that was Richie, and that's really sad. I was gonna sub out with Miguel on the loose with Camas High School joint project, and so I was really looking forward to that project. And yeah, thanks for coming in and saying hi, Richie. Would have loved to do that, and still would be fun to get that afloat later on if
for sure,
if there's the means of making that happen. But yeah, just like that, a lot of things kind of just like that gone, and a lot of things that people were emotionally connected to. And I told you I just lost this residency at the end of this month that I had booked like a year and a half out. So it is what it is, and I just feel for all my friends in a similar situation right now.
The crazy thing is too is like what venues or what businesses will actually be open again, and like what will actually close forever.
I know, man, and that's a little dark. I try not to visit that as much, but it comes up, and I'm sure all these venue owners are feeling the same level of pressure around this situation, and keeping their doors open after this is all we can hope for. But again, just be for those that care about the arts and appreciate it, and all the donor money like coming in right now is all very, very much appreciated from people like us that our livelihoods depend on those doors staying open. So, yeah, man, it's very cool. It's very cool that anyone would be offering assistance that has those means right now. But like I said, things are super cloudy in terms of what our lives are going to return to, come the summer, come fall time, when we're allowed to go play shows again. And hopefully there will be as many venues around at that time.
Your video that you posted of the Avengers thing summed
it
up pretty well yesterday.
Is that not scene. Just spot on? Yeah. I didn't know if that was going to stay up because it was just directly ripping the copyrights of Marvel Studios.
I saw you took it off. I was like, wait, did he get like Did you get like an
Dude, I don't know,
thing on
because it's still seen on my page, so I can't tell if people see it
Okay.
anymore. But I just thought that I was like, man, this shit is hilarious to me, and also like just hits you right in the feels of like us
Yeah.
all these musicians going through thinking this is just like really dire times, and when we're ever able to play a show again, it's gonna feel exactly like that, coming in hot and ready.
People are gonna cry.
Yeah, bro, I might cry, man. This is just really showing me how therapeutic playing live is for me personally, and how much I appreciate playing with my friends on a regular basis. It is definitely a connection that I can't get back right now. Even though I'm creating some fun collaborations right now over the internet, which is always
Mm-hmm.
just fun to be creative in that way. But it certainly can't make up for that live presence of that feeling when you just
Yeah.
look at your dude to the left or the right, and you just know
Yeah.
shit's going down.
Yeah, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
See what
all we
happens.
can do right now is hope for the best, and yeah, just send out our thoughts and check in with those that we know are hurting a little bit right now.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, bro. It's been really fun checking in with you, dude.
Hell yeah.
Let's do this again.
I'm
I
down. We
think
should do like a group session with other people.
I would love that,
Just like
man.
everybody.
That would be super fun to get like a Zoom call
a
going.
live Zoom chat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'll be next, dude. I'll
Yeah.
try to organize that and put that together. But that would be a fun roundtable discussion.
It was nice getting to use my brain again today.
Yeah. Did you feel like it turned off for a bit?
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, like, I'm just, I don't socialize that much, not even through, like, FaceTime or anything. I never use any of that stuff. So, like,
cool.
I just haven't been around people. So, I appreciate this just a little more,
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. But again, thanks for being up for the chat today, and always great to connect with you, bro. And you stay up for sure. And
likewise.
I look forward to the day I get to hear and see you play soon, bro.
Likewise.
All right, man. Well,
cool, man.
You take care of yourself. I love you, bud, and we'll talk soon.
Likewise, man. See ya.
Peace.